Welcome to Doc's Download, the podcast edition, where real conversations meet real Buckeye life. I'm your host, Dr. Melissa Shivers, Senior Vice President for Student Life, and better known as Doc, here to bring you stories, strategies, and a few laughs along the way. Whether you're a brand new Buckeye or a seasoned one, consider this your all-access pass to tips, truths, and triumphs straight from the heart of campus. Let's dive in, everybody. Welcome back to Doc's Download, the podcast edition. I am your host, Dr. Melissa Shivers, but most folks tend to call me Doc. Today's episode is truly, truly special. We are shining a spotlight on the Monda Student Resource Center, a space that has become a vital resource for students' well-being and their success. A one-stop location where students can find support to meet their essential needs, from food and professional apparel to making connections with campus and community members. This incredible center only exists because of the generosity and the vision of two remarkable people, Keith Monda and Veronica Brady, who believe that when students have their basic needs met, they are free to engage, learn, and thrive here at Ohio State. I am so thrilled to have them as my guests today on Doc's Download, the podcast edition. We're also joined by one of the hundreds of students who has used the Monda Student Resource Center to share firsthand how it's making a difference, Dahlia Brailsford. Keith, Veronica, Dahlia, welcome to Doc's Download.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. This is going to be a good conversation. I'm looking forward to it. But before we jump into the conversation, I would love for each of you to introduce yourselves and please share your favorite thing about Ohio State. Typically, people have trouble naming just one thing. So if you say two, I'll be okay with that. But certainly let us know the one thing. Veronica, let's start with you.
Oh, okay. My name's Veronica Brady. I am Keith Monda's life partner in life and philanthropy. And I spent my career in banking and wealth management in Florida, where we live now. And I am an adopted Buckeye, and a very happy adopted Buckeye. What do I love about Ohio State? My favorite thing is that no matter where you go, anywhere in the world, and certainly in the United States and around, when you see somebody wearing the Ohio State insignia, you can say OH, and you know you'll get a warm IO back. And that is, I just love the family aspect of what being a Buckeye means.
That's awesome. Thank you. We're glad you're an adopted Buckeye.
Thank you.
So happy to have you. Keith.
Thank you. I'm Keith Monda. I'm a Buckeye. I graduated to the Ohio State University twice. I had a terrific career. My last role was with Coach, the women's handbag company. I was president of the company. And I realized late in my career that I needed to make some changes. And I wanted to spend the rest of my life in philanthropy and service. And that's what I do.
That's wonderful.
Borealis is the large sculpture on the ground outside of the Ohio State University. And it's my favorite because I helped create it. I worked with the artist John Henry more than 10 years ago. And I may get the record for the largest donation in terms of weight. And so that was the area that I found interesting.
For your listeners, Borealis is the large red, it's in scarlet, Ohio State scarlet, stick sculpture that is over across from the Fawcett Center by the Longaberger Alumni Center. And we encourage people to just go look at it. It is a monumental piece of contemporary art, and it looks wonderful on campus.
It does. Thank you so much for that. And thanks, Keith. I can't wait for us to get more into this conversation to hear from you about sort of this notion of heart work and head work, because it feels like you've been able to meld those two pretty well together, which led us, I think, to the Monda Student Resource Center. So thank you again for being here. Dahlia, tell us about you.
Oh, thank you. My name is Dahlia Brailsford. I'm from Connecticut. I am a third-year biology major on the pre-med track, and I've been volunteering with the Buckeye Food Alliance since I got here my freshman year. I've also been using the Buckeye Food Alliance in the Monda Student Resource Center now since I got here my freshman year as well. So, and my favorite thing about OSU is I love how the campus looks during the fall. Just walking around, all the trees and the leaves falling. And I love a chai latte from Terabyte Cafe.
I love
that is my go-to. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got your latte, you're walking past Mirror Lake, and just adoring the beauty of Ohio State.
It's my favorite thing.
Tell me a little bit more about how you got connected to BFA your freshman year, because sometimes first-year students have trouble finding their thing or what it is they're passionate about. So I'm curious.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, I'm from Connecticut, so I didn't know anybody in Ohio. I don't have any connections out here yet. So I was just walking around at the activities fair that they have in the Oval, and I saw the Buckeye Food Alliance. I said, I need to volunteer. And I'd done food pantries through high school, too, in Connecticut. Shout out New Haven Soup Pantry. But
very good.
Yeah, no, I love them. So I was looking for something similar in college, and I stumbled upon the Buckeye Food Alliance. Not the owner, but the manager at that time was Nick Fowler. And he was a super kind guy, and he was really talkative, conversational. We kind of became friends at that little activities fair, so I signed up. There was a whole interview process. It was like my first interview that I made it into the club in, so I was like really excited. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then I just started volunteering from there.
And I've been volunteering ever since.
Yeah, I've loved it.
Making a difference. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. All right. As you all can already tell, we have some pretty incredible people joining the podcast today, and I'm really excited about where we're going to go. The information that we're going to share that hopefully all of you as our listeners will be responsive to and be motivated just to continue to engage and support things that are both aligned with your heart work and your head work. So let's jump right in. Does everybody feel good about that?
Yes.
Excellent. Let's do it. All right, Keith and Veronica, I'm going to start with you. I want to hear more about what really inspired you both to make such a transformative gift to create the Monda Student Resource Center. Whoever would like to start.
Go ahead.
Okay. We had learned through you, Doc, about plans to bring the Buckeye Food Alliance and the Clothes Closet, both of which were already located on campus, into a shared site where students, when they came in, could access the resources they might need, which not only included food and clothes, but had case management, financial assistance, even if needed, co-located in the building is mental health services. And Keith and I have worked extensively with food banks, both in our community in Sarasota, but also in Canton, Ohio, which is Keith's hometown, and supported the Mid-Ohio Food Bank. And of course, Keith's going to tell you about his time on the Feeding America board. But we understand that when somebody is food insecure, and across the country, college students are often food insecure. Doc, I think you shared with us that at one time, up to 30% of Ohio State students had experienced food insecurity during a year of their time at Ohio State.
That's exactly right, which is an astonishing number, quite frankly, and how people view students and their access to resources.
It is. You know, you don't realize it. You presume kids have parents, they have infrastructure, they have scholarships. But what you don't realize is that a single change at home or a single change in their job, their work-study program, anything like that can cause an impact on a student right away. And Keith and I feel really strongly that everyone needs an opportunity to succeed. especially when we're talking about Ohio State, because you've made it to a top university in the country. We don't want you to stop until you've gotten your degree, gone where you want to go with that. And so for a moment of food insecurity or a flat tire that can't be replaced, those things coming through, we wanted to make sure that we could address as much of that as we could. And your vision for co-locating all the services so that students really have an opportunity to not only access what they need, but be able to move on. Right?
Yes.
Get the next things they need.
Absolutely. And, I imagine that everyone is aware of President Carter's announcement of the strategic plan, Education for Citizenship 2035. And a key component of that plan is focused on academic excellence. Something that we talk about all the time is that students can't be successful in the classroom if they're housing insecure, if they're food insecure, if they're clothing insecure. Those things get in the way of academic success. And so the timing of the Monda Student Resource Center opening last spring, in alignment with the focus areas that the president has really communicated to the community, and he always emphasizes, it's the academic, it's the curricular and the co-curricular that make a difference. And so that's why when I asked my question earlier about why did you all decide to make such a transformative gift, not just in dollars, but your heart around this is incredible. Keith, talk to us a little bit about who you are and what has always inspired you to think about how do I make a larger impact?
Well, to be specific about this particular point, I think that really the thing that motivated me was the resource center part of it. The fact that I had been active with food banks and food bank organizations, but I felt sometimes it was one-dimensional. It was food only. Mm-hmm. And I really felt if there was a way to organize so that you could be multifaceted, that would be much more productive. And so that's what kind of tripped the trigger for us and really helped us think through our work with food banks, helped us think through that particular issue.
Thank you. And Talia, you've been a recipient, as you've shared with us, so thank you for your transparency in that way, too. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you have seen really transpiring now in the Monda Student Resource Center that is perhaps different than when it was just BFA as a standalone unit?
Absolutely, and I think it's really important for listeners who haven't been to the Buckeye Food Alliance previously. We were in the basement at Lincoln Tower. There were yellow walls. We were a happy bunch down there, but it was hard to find and locate for some, and Lincoln Tower is on the farther end of campus, so it was sometimes difficult to get to. We had way less students coming in to receive pantry goods and things like that. Our shelves weren't empty, but we didn't have as many shelves, so that kind of contributed. So the difference in this Monda Student Resource Center is it is completely renovated. We have way more fridges, which we definitely needed. The shelves are filled. There's more of them. The career closet is an actual location. Previously, it was pop-up shops that would appear at Yunkin, usually, but around campus, and there wasn't a stationary location. So now it's all in one spot, so people can go there at any time. And I think just that stability and being at a central location on campus at the Yunkin Success Center is really huge. We see a giant influx of students coming in, and it's so great to see.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Keith, I'm going to come back to you now because I love a story that you oftentimes tell us. So the listeners now get to be in on the secret that really inspires me and encourages me every day when I think about the impact that others can have on our lives. Tell us a little bit about your letter from the neighbor.
Sure. I hopefully I can do this without becoming emotional, but this was a situation. I was in graduate school, which was a long time ago, and there was a woman left a note on the door of my apartment. And the note essentially said that she was hungry, her children were hungry, and she needed to be able to feed her children. And would she be willing to lend some money to me to be able to purchase some food, and she would pay us back. I still have that note. We tacked that note to the inside of our cabinet. And every day I open the cabinet, I see it. And it reminds me about the fact that everybody needs to be okay.
Veronica, anything you want to add?
When we moved, because we moved a few years ago, and we were unpacking, and I said to Keith, "Where's the note?" Oh. And for about a year, we could not find the note. It had been carefully packed away, so carefully that we couldn't find it. But the woman asking Keith if she could borrow a few dollars that she would pay when she got paid at the end of the week. No one who asks for assistance is doing it just for extras. They're doing it because they need help.
Yes.
And that note, that story, that woman has no idea what an impact she made on a young Keith Monda, mm-hmm. and then all the people that he's helped and we've helped, and the stories we've told. But he lent the money and she paid him back, and we've kept the note, and it still keeps paying forward.
Thank you so much for sharing that. There's something about being grounded, even in situations that perhaps you can't necessarily connect with, but you as an individual are empathetic and caring and want to be helpful. The fact that that note still inspires you every day is pretty incredible, Keith. You've done incredibly well, made lots of different contributions, I'm sure, across all the things that you care about. But the fact that you have chosen to invest in our students at Ohio State in such a meaningful and impactful way. I want to share a story with you, and I didn't tell you this story prior to because I wanted to wait. I had an opportunity to visit with a student who did not have any money. They just started here at Ohio State, and we were going to lunch together. And the student said, "I don't have any money for lunch, so I can't pay for my lunch." I said, "Oh my goodness, this lunch is totally on me. I'm so grateful that you would even offer or let me know that you thought you were doing that, but that's not what this lunch is about." You all, the impact that one conversation and the vulnerability that student demonstrated was impressive for a first semester, 7 weeks into the semester. He exercised the notion of asking for help in ways that a lot of adults don't know how to do. So it gave me an opportunity to talk to him about the Monda Student Resource Center. And the fact that he reached out to me via a text to say that he'd actually used that center.
Excellent.
Love it.
I wanted you all to know that and to hear that real, just-in-time impact that you have allowed us to make on a student from not in-state, but from somewhere else to make it here is critical. And that's I think that's part of the story that we want our listeners to hear is that we all have a responsibility to help where we can in small or large ways. Keith and Veronica, you have done that in many significant ways. I'm sure some very small, at least small to you, but significant to others. And this Monda Student Resource Center is making a difference to students. Our hope is that they'll leave here, much like Dahlia, and say, I want to go back. When I go back to my community, I want to help and support others. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that story with you all because it was so impactful to me. I still text a student to see how they're doing and if they need anything else. I got them a basketball ticket to a game, and they wrote me and said, thanks so much for the ticket, because we're helping to make their overall experience. And you all are a significant part of how we do that. The letter, the note from the neighbor, I think just hearing that, I believe will spark conversations with others who are listening and those who will hear about this podcast to be reflective on the ways that they can make a difference both now and certainly in the future. So I wanted to make sure that you heard that in real time. I was able to refer a student who was really struggling. Dahlia, this space, as you talked about the Buckeye Food Alliance being in Lincoln Tower, very difficult to sort of navigate and get to. As you talked earlier about the space and the openness and the connectedness with other resources on campus, that seemingly being something that's bringing in a lot of other students. What are, and certainly in a non-identifying way, what kind of stories do you hear from our students about their experience and perhaps what brings them there? One of the things that I love about the Monda Student Resource Center is that no one has to disclose. We don't ask a ton of questions about why they are there. That could be an immediate barrier. So we don't do that. But I'm just wondering, sort of, from your experience, the difference that we're making. What have you heard from our students?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's varies widely.
Sure.
A lot of people, my favorite ones are when people come with their friends. So their friend has been there a lot, and then they join in, and they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't even know this was here." And I go, "Yes, we are always here. Please come stop by. You can come once a day, every day a week if you'd like." And so those are my favorite moments. And a lot of students, I'd say, that we see are graduate students, people living on their own for the first time. They have their own apartment and they're trying to cook and they're realizing it's very expensive to cook. And maybe they just bought all these pans, but they have no food to put in these pans. And now they're like, "Oh, what do I do?" And so it's always great, like seeing people with like their large orders as they go, and they're just really excited. It's good to make people happy with this free food. And it is such a necessity, again, because we are college students, the graduate students, everybody. We're all just trying to, get our education, and food is the first thing, that you need.
Absolutely.
You need a house, you need food, and got to get that degree. So I think that is really at the core of everybody coming in. Everybody's doing their best. And right now, too, it's very expensive to live in Columbus, everywhere. So the food pantry is a very big necessity. And we see the same folks come in every week. So
at least I ask that question.
Yes,
okay.
I volunteer Tuesday nights, 4 to 7. And I have, I say hi to my favorite people, and I say, "Oh, nice to see you. So you got a haircut. How did that go?" And it's a little community moment, too.
Yeah.
We do not disclose identities and things like that.
Right.
But you do see the same volunteers when you come to the same times. And so it does make a kind of friendship between the people who come in every week. And so I really enjoy that aspect of it. And again, just through that, you see the impact you are having. A lot of international students we see too, out-of-state students who don't have support networks out here. And especially, again, I'm an out-of-state student as well, coming in from Connecticut my freshman year. I didn't know anybody out here either. So a lot of people coming into the pantry who are trying to, make friends and create that network for themselves. And so the food pantry is a really huge part of them supporting themselves and being able to get that education out here.
Yeah, thank you. 100%. You said something a few moments ago about how expensive things are right now.
Yes.
And so to our friends and listeners, certainly many of you are probably thinking about, what can I do to be supportive of the students at Ohio State, particularly right now? It's a challenging time for many in our community. Veronica and Keith, I know that you all live in Florida. What are some of the things that you're seeing, or maybe more so, what are things that you're experiencing or hearing from those who are utilizing food pantries there about the challenges that they might be faced with right now?
One of the things that we realize, and not your listeners may not know this, but a Buckeye Food Alliance, any food pantry that's a member of the Feeding America network, and most food pantries regardless, their buying power with a monetary donation as opposed to a food donation is significantly higher. They can buy in bulk. They have relationships set up. Certainly the national organization, Feeding America, with its over 200 food banks that then provide food down to food pantries, including the Buckeye Food Alliance. Their buying power with $1 is a lot more than having a food drive, because they can buy the proteins that people need. They can buy the rice, the vegetables, the fresh fruits that people need, and they can buy it inexpensively. And the wonderful thing about using those dollars that way is that you get people what they need, what they can eat. There are many national partners out there who are donating across the board. So Walmart is very active as a supporter of the Feeding America Network by donating. If they get extra bananas that they can't sell, they go to food pantries and food banks to be distributed. And so
that's great.
These network relationships, which I know the Buckeye Food Alliance has, are so incredibly important. But they aren't enough. It still takes donations. It takes, even if it's a food drive, it still takes those gifts to make the system all work.
That's really powerful, Veronica. Thanks for sort of level setting about how those organizations really feed into the pantries and the power of the dollar to be able to buy really does make a significant difference. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to continue to sort of pull a thread on this, particularly related to the different types of benefits. I don't think that people always realize, as we were speaking earlier about the 30% of our students who have been food insecure, that probably those students are working, they're doing their level best, and yet they still need assistance. That includes our college students. So the impacts of the changes certainly impact college students as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we know college students at Ohio State and at other colleges across the country, they're working multiple jobs to be able to do this. They're pursuing their education. If they've got student loans that they're already starting to pay back. I mean, there's a lot going on. And a powerful support is having the Monda Student Resource Center here at Ohio State to be able to help students manage those many tugs that they have, taking care of, sometimes students are taking care of their family.
That's right. That's right.
They're trying to get their education, their working jobs, they're trying to figure it all out, where we can provide that lifeline that level sets the playing field a little bit, that makes sure everyone has an opportunity to succeed. That's really where we get to.
That's so powerful. And I would be remiss if I also didn't share, and Veronica, I think you mentioned this, is that students, when they come in, they may, visit the Reed Family Career Closet or the food pantry, but they can also learn about employment opportunities. So if they have lost a job or have not been able to secure employment since they've been on campus, when they come into the Monda Student Resource Center, they can actually visit with someone who can provide them with access to where our jobs are posted on campus, and they could leave out of there with groceries, a suit, and a job. Like, where else does that actually potentially happen, particularly for 18 to 24-year-olds?
It doesn't.
It's pretty incredible. That's what I mean. Like, it's not just this students get to come in and take things. They also are provided the resources, other resources that they might need to help get them over the hump, if you will, or to be able to pay that water bill, or to be able to find a job that they haven't been able to find. The Monda Student Resource Center does all of this. And we have it here at Ohio State. And my hope is that our students are also listening to this podcast who will do their level best to not be afraid to ask for help. My belief is that that's just what Buckeyes do. We don't mind asking for help, because you know why? There are going to be so many people on the other side ready and willing to help you. So don't hesitate to reach out. please don't hesitate to reach out. As we look to the future, everybody, and think about where we want to see the Monda Student Resource Center go, seeing who comes through those doors, what's your grand idea, Keith, about what's the next level of Monda?
I think that there's an opportunity here to continue to grow this organization and to be able to provide with as many people as possible the kinds of things and items that they need to be successful. And and I also, V and I have talked a bit about this. It'd be nice to think about how does one create a situation where there are other colleges or universities who have the same desires to have an organization that can provide their needs, because I want to continue to be successful with The Ohio State University, but it'd be nice if there were because every college has the same issues.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Are there opportunities to have a multiplier impact?
Yeah. For people, and we have had institutions to reach out who are just very curious about how in the world did you all do that? A lot of institutions have resources listed on websites, but they don't all have an actual physical structure that people can walk into and literally shop or meet with someone and talk about the challenges that they're facing. We've done something pretty cool here, thanks to Veronica and Keith, and I love the fact that you want to see other institutions to do it to help address these issues, barriers to student success, because that's ultimately what they are. Veronica, did you want to add anything?
Well, Doc, I don't want you to get off the hook here. This was your big vision. This really was your big vision for bringing all these resources together, as Dahlia pointed out of a dorm basement and into a place that provides dignity and opportunity and builds and strengthens Buckeye relationships. And we're really excited about that. And so when we think about it, we've helped create resource centers in other communities, not at colleges. When we think about it, we think that the opportunity to reach more students, for them to know more about it, and Dahlia is actually the director of outreach for the Monda Student Resource Center, so we know that's happening. But to continue to not only reach more students, but identify more opportunities for support. So we know that there are people who have donated, both people who are on campus, but Rotary clubs and other organizations in Columbus who have done clothing drives and food drives and found other ways to support the center. And so we love the multiplier effect of getting everyone around supporting the needs today. And whether ideally it's at the Monda Student Resource Center, that's what we're talking about. So thank you to our listeners. Yeah. But at this time, if you're not here in Columbus or you're not able to support here, support your local food bank.
Yes.
Support your local college.
Yes.
Because this is a time where people need just that extra helping hand.
Absolutely. Dahlia, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, you guys did a great job covering it. I mean, on a more like practical level with our career closet, I know we're working on expanding and for like nurses, scrubs, and more things tailored to a different variety of jobs. We definitely have a lot of suits right now, though, so definitely check it out if you'd like. And then just expanding hours, like Veronica brought up, lots of students have multiple jobs. I myself have 3 other jobs that I'm doing right now. And that's like, I've always done that. So definitely getting more hours to work around people's schedules so everybody can come at any time is a goal I have. And we're always expanding our food selection and things like that. Spices are on the horizon.
Oh,
they're coming.
spices, excellent.
Little sneak peek, but again, we're always changing up our menu. So I definitely think come check it out.
That's wonderful. And I will share with them that if there are folks who are not here in Columbus, you can absolutely visit our website at msrc.osu.edu a non-shameless plug.
Yes.
Very happy to share that website, and certainly invite folks to be able to bring donations to the Monda Student Resource Center. We are always happy to accept those. Gosh, if you haven't visited the center, you should. There are so many incredible people who, I like to say again, continue to do hard work, because that's what, in my opinion, the Monda Student Resource Center is. It's a living, breathing representation of hard work. And if you want to come and be a part of something like that, we would love to have you, whether it's through donations or volunteering your time. It's making a difference. It's making a huge, huge difference. And I couldn't be more thrilled and happy with the fact that we can provide this sort of support to students who need it the most. And so I'm just incredibly grateful. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Before we leave, I do want to ask you each one last question. You didn't know this question was coming, Keith, so you couldn't have studied for it or prepared for it. When you think about the difference that you want to make in the world, how does this initiative fit into what makes Keith Monda, what makes Dahlia, what makes Veronica?
Hunger is the cause that grips at me all the time. And so, continuing to figure out ways where people are going to get fed is incredibly important to me and to V, and incredibly meaningful. And so I'm interested in a lot of things, but that's clearly the thing that drives me the most, and the one that I think has a level of immediacy to it, because everybody needs to eat every day. It's not like we can take a day off.
No.
And so to be able to make sure that everybody has the resources that they need to sustain themselves is incredibly important. Also, I want to think a little bit more about one of the things that we say in food banking is we want to shorten the line, and we talk about shortening the line a lot. But what we really should be talking about is ending the line.
Yes.
And if we can start to think about broad strategies that allow one to end the line, those are the kinds of things that have a finality to them and will pay dividends.
That's fantastic. Ending the line.
So, of course, I'll agree with everything Keith said. Helping,
as she should.
Agreed.
Helping neighbors in need, because our fellow students are our neighbors, if we're parents, whosever kid it is, they're our neighbors. The other wonderful thing about this is, again, going back to what I love about Ohio State, is creating that sense of community. Student organizations supporting the Monda Student Resource Center, community organizations providing support, individuals providing support. And for students, whether you are a participant in either support or receiving support, what Keith and I really hope is that you remember this today, but you also remember it 20, 30 years from today, and you pay it forward in your community for others. I mean, that's the other part of what really resonates for us is the now, and then the inspiration for others as we think about the future.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, core value, everybody is talking about helping others. Absolutely. And at the center of it for me is just equality, right? We all don't start off at the same playing field. So we got to make sure we can try and balance everybody out in the best way to give everybody the best chance at opportunities, and food and housing and things like that are the core pillars of getting people to that spot, especially at college. Education is the great equalizer. You have to get a degree. If you're here, that's the goal. So if we can provide that food aspect that takes that, off their plate, So I think that's always been my big drive, and I'll continue to do that. And I encourage listeners at home, again, get out there, volunteer. It's very rewarding. It's a fun time, too. Yeah.
It's nice when there's a little fun added to it. Yeah,
exactly.
I like that. I think that is a wonderful note for us to end today's podcast. Thank you all so much for joining and sharing this important story and initiative. But more importantly, thank you so much for sharing, again, your heart with our Ohio State community and beyond. Keith and Veronica, you are making a difference all over the place. We're just fortunate that you also chose to do that at Ohio State. We are continually grateful every day for the difference that you all have chosen to make. And I am the very lucky person who gets to watch and hear from those students who started off in a rough spot. And then in 4 years, I get to watch them walk across that stage as graduates of this place. And knowing the in-between things that they had to go through, there's nothing more gratifying. And I will know that there are students who benefited directly from the Monda Student Resource Center. And that's one of the ways and the reasons that they made it through Ohio State. So thank you all so much for absolutely everything. I am Doc, and this has been Doc's Download. Thanks, everyone, for joining. And as absolutely always, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
This program is a presentation of the Office of Student Life at The Ohio State University, recorded in the studios of WOSU Public Media. Your engineer is Dalton Jones, producers J. Randall Hicks and Matthew Swearingen, and executive producer Jen Vandemark. The views expressed are those of the host and guest and do not necessarily reflect those of the university. Join us next time for another edition of Doc's Download, the podcast.